Well, hello and welcome everybody to our Redefining DASA DevOps Fundamentals. My name is Deborah Burton and I'm the Managing Director of the DevOps Agile Skills Association. And I'm going to be your host and moderator today. And I must tell you, I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by two folks that I really call the A team of DASA, Aryan Wortman and Niels Loader. And I'm just gonna let them introduce themselves, but I'm sure if you're part of our DASA community, you know them well. So Aryan?
Thanks, Deborah. Excited to be here today. I'm leading my name is Arjen Woerdman, and I'm leading the DASA editorial board. And thanks for the A-team status, but I think we should also not forget the other editorial board members besides Niels and myself.
Absolutely.
So Dave van Herpen and Marco Loormans are also very important and key contributors to having also participated in this work. So within DASA, I'm in charge of the editorial board. So we're defining and looking at certification programs, and I'm very excited that today we're going to introduce some very significant changes to the DASA DevOps Fundamentals program.
Great, happy to have you here. Niels, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Niels Loader, and as it says, I'm a member of the editorial board, and I'm very excited about all the developments that we're doing here at DASA. The DevOps fundamentals update is one of the key things we're doing at the moment. But let's not forget the professional certifications and the leadership level certifications that we're also working on, and that are generally becoming available at the moment.
Great. Well, thanks to you both. And again, so happy that you're here. I just want to spend a few minutes for those of you that might be new to DASA for the first time, a little bit about the DASA DevOps Skills Association. We're an open, members-driven organization, and what we have been doing since 2016 is providing training and certification to help to build high-performance IT, and that starts with IT professionals and teams. So we're really excited about the things that we're doing. I'm extremely happy to be and extremely proud that we're a members-driven organization simply by the fact that our members are so active. Not only do they participate in areas like providing us information and back to our editorial board, but they also give us real-world explanations and real-world information of what's happening as they go out there and try to position DASA DevOps training to their markets. And some of the feedback that we've gotten, which is why we're here today, is about their new DASA DevOps Fundamentals 2.0. So I'm going to quickly take you through the context of what it is we're trying to do and why we've done it. And then Niels and Aryan are going to get into more specifics about what it will mean to you. So when we look about why we created a DASA fundamentals version, there were really two major reasons. The first is that we wanted to kind of eat our own dog food. You know, we talk about the DASA principles and how we use them for improvement opportunities, things like the fact that we stand on the shoulders of lean and agile, the importance of being product-centric, customer-centric, cross-functional autonomous teams, complete automation and improvement. That, from an improvement perspective, is something that we truly believe in and that we also want to reflect in the training and the certification that we bring to the market. The other important area is making sure that we're meeting the expectations of our customers and also of our partner community. So those are the two things that are really driving us to do this change. And the feedback that we got from our trainers and from our supporters on the ground really helped us in terms of making sure we're applying these principles in-house, that we're continually innovating and improving, and that we're also meeting the expectations in the market. And what we heard loud and clear about our current fundamentals course as it is today, a lot of people said it's a really great course, but it's a heavy course. There's a lot of information in it, lots and lots of detail. And it's a 3-day course and it's a lot of theory. And folks were looking for a more lightweight course, something that they can do in 2 days, something where they could really focus more on the content flow. And they were also wanting to have a better idea of the exam blueprint and how that would work, and the whole course outline and how it's tied to the journey of DevOps. And we found that all of that information was incredibly important because that's what our members and our trainers in the field were looking for, that 2 days instead of 3, the improvement around the flow and the feedback around the exam and quality, and making sure that it's meeting the requirements of what our customers were expecting. So some of the key highlights that we're going to talk about and get into more detail, I'm going to invite, of course, Niels and Arjen to join me. And the first thing, Arjen, is let's talk about what everyone is looking for in this 2-day program, about a lightweight course.
Sure, thanks, Deborah. So when we created this program about 3 years ago, we really were trying to put everything around DevOps into one training program. I mean, we spent days and days to try to figure out what do individuals and teams really need in order to work in a DevOps environment. And we put all of that into a 3-day training program. So having run the program now for 3 years and thousands of people were taken through the program, we realized that maybe that's a bit much for an introductory type of course. So what we did is we actually reduced the content enormously in terms of the program. So I think we reduced about 40% of the total content of the program, and then we added in another maybe 10-15% of new content. But because we also realized that specific areas were maybe not addressed well enough, or were new or innovative concepts that were not there 3 years ago, because this market is rapidly expanding. So I think we ended up with a very beautiful program. I think 2 days is an ideal program. So it gives a very good introduction to DevOps. It talks about all of the areas of the DASA DevOps competence model, the principles of DevOps. And so still we're able to provide individuals a very good overview and insight into what DevOps is, and then prepares them for the professional level programs. I think it's important or good to know that this also has an impact on the exam. So we'll talk about the exam a little bit more. But typically or traditionally, the exam was conducted at the end of the 3rd day. So that would mean that typically a training course is 2.5 days, with then an exam at the 3rd day. Now in 2 days, it becomes a bit more difficult to put the exam into the program. So from our side, we recommend that training providers typically provide the exam at a later point in time to candidates, so they can get an exam voucher and do it a couple of weeks later or a couple of days later after the course, but do not try to cram it into those 2 days. Does it help, Deborah?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would think one of the things that we have heard so much is a real appreciation to allow folks to get in there for 2 days and get the basics that they need so that they can move on further with other certifications in the DevOps model. So Niels, let's talk about the journey.
Yeah, that's and I think this is the key innovation that we've done in this new version of the fundamentals. It's when we put together the initial fundamentals training. We clearly had 5 areas that we needed to be looking at, and we were looking at the competence framework as the core that we were trying to impart to the participants. Now what we've seen, and we've discussed this with a lot of the people who've taken the training, and we've asked them, how would you like to see this material? How would you like to have this material brought to you? And so what we've come up with is the fact that we start off obviously talking about the context of DevOps. Why is DevOps so important? Where has it come from? What are the key drivers for making this work? This is an important opening kind of area that people are looking for. We then focus on what does DevOps actually mean for you as an individual. So how do the competencies work? How does the competence framework work? How will it help you to thrive in that DevOps environment? Now, individuals, obviously within a DevOps environment, work very much in teams, and so we moved on from saying, okay, well, this is you as an individual, but what does it mean for you when you're working in a team? How does it look? How will you interact with your team members? And one of the things that we've added is a little bit about how these teams fit, sorry, into the larger context of organizations as a whole. Having set that scene, having got people comfortable with, okay, this is how my world will look, we then go into discussing what kind of practices we'll use, what kind of things will we be talking about, how do we integrate tools from the Agile community, how do we integrate ideas from, for example, ITIL, how do we bring together all those important contexts and tools and practices that make people able to work together in a DevOps team, having come from all different backgrounds. And one of the very interesting things that that we got, one of the feedbacks was that that people were kind of looking to spend a little bit of time in talking about, okay, what do we do next? So it's really the next steps bit is about bringing all the previous aspects together and trying to identify, okay, what's the best thing for you? And here we do throughout the whole course, we do exercises to make people really aware of what's going on. And at this phase, we help the individuals, and if we do these in company, we help organizations to think about what the next steps are for their organization. And I feel that this flow brings people really from a journey of okay, I'm interested in this stuff, I'm aware of what's going on, to really feeling confident about going back to their organizations and saying, okay, I know what we should be doing next.
And I think this is such a powerful thing for individuals, as you know, people are kind of charting out their journeys of where they want to be and what role they want to play within their organizations. And I'm so excited about the fact that this new way of the way we've structured the syllabus area with the new DASA DevOps Fundamental 2.0 is really going to help those individuals, which will then in turn help their organizations be able to retain and keep people, because they're growing into the skills and knowledge areas that will allow them to do their future growth. So exciting stuff, Neil.
Yeah, it's great.
Let's talk about a little bit about the exams.
Yes.
Arjen.
Thanks, Deborah. So the key ingredients of the exam are not changing. So the exam still continues to be a 60-minute, so 1-hour exam, 40 questions, and a pass rate of 26%. 26 questions correct in order to pass the exam. So all of those things are still the same. But what we also realized is that, I mean, having certified all those thousands of people over the last years, we also obviously received a lot of feedback on the exam. That's very normal. So we've done small incremental changes and updates to the quality of the exam. But now with version 2, actually we've taken all that learning and are introducing a fresh, new, very well updated exam to the market. So we believe that that will really help people in taking this certification program and get a good result out of that. That doesn't mean that the exam has become easier, Deborah. So the exam still is.
That was going to be my question. Is it going to be easier? So it's still going to be a challenging exam.
It's obviously still going to be a challenging exam, But what we also did is we're actually providing more guidance for individuals who are preparing for the exam. So we're providing more context around the specifications of what they need to learn and understand in order to prepare for the exam. Because I mean, there are multiple courseware providers in the market, so there are multiple flavors of training programs. So that means that that learners in all cases are well prepared with the information that DASA provides to them.
Yeah, but I think also the work that the editorial board has done in terms of creating the 2.0 course content is really going to help with the exams now, because it's really focused on, you know, netting out what it is they need to get to and learn. So really excited about this area. Impact. So let's talk a little bit about what the impact of the new DASA DevOps Fundamentals 2.0 is. And Arjen, I'd like for you to take us through these concepts.
So in 3 years, a lot has changed. So the market has matured a lot, but we also at the same time also see that in different geographies the market maturity is very different. So some markets are much more evolved than others. So we needed to take that into account also when redesigning the version 2.0. So I think the most important change, actually Niels explained, it's about the flow of the program, and Niels will talk a little bit more about that also later, where we really take a person from what is needed as an individual to helping them understand what it takes to work in a DevOps team. But also other things have changed in the meantime. So I think everybody is aware of the fact that there's now a new ITIL version 4 available in the market. So new concepts, different approach to dealing with service management, and that clearly has a significant impact on DevOps. One of the key feedback that we received over the last 2 years is that the operations piece was not strong enough or not well represented enough into the training program. So we really tried to put a lot more emphasis on the operations piece, not just through ITIL, but really also at operations in general within the training program.
And I'm really excited to hear that, because a lot of times when folks looked at the competence model, the operations side, they didn't see themselves, and they were absolutely key to that area. So this is really great news, Arjen.
Perfect. So secondly, I mentioned that initially we really were putting a lot of content or a lot of topics into the training program. We also realized that some of the topics actually we were addressing a little bit too high level, and other topics we were discussing too much or into too much depth. So we really looked at all of the elements that we put into the training program and tried to make much more sense of it. To give a very specific example, I mean, value stream mapping was an area that was covered in great detail into the training program. But the DASA DevOps Fundamentals course is not a value stream mapping course. So this piece actually makes a lot more sense to be part of one of the professional level training programs. And that's where it sits now. So that exercise of trying to understand what really needs to be at fundamental level and what needs to go in other programs is what we did, and that helped us to make this program actually a lot stronger. The last piece, which is actually the piece that we're most proud of, is the enormous focus on culture. So
I love that.
I knew you would say that. So culture is important because I mean we realize that it's not about tools. I mean over and over we hear that DevOps is all about the transformation in terms of the hearts and minds of the people who work within teams and organizations. So how actually do you build a team culture, a culture that works within your organization, is something where we put a lot of emphasis on in this training course. So it's not a transformational course because I mean that again, that's where the professional levels talk about or come to mind, but it really addresses culture in a very, very specific and deep way.
Yeah, and we know what we've learned in this journey of DASA and in the DevOps world is culture is so incredibly important. And I do love the quote, you can't change culture, but you can change behavior, and behavior changes culture. So bringing out all of that and all of these new concepts and strengthening and adding in the ITIL 4 piece and making sure that we're talking to the operations community and a stronger focus on teams are really things that we've thought about and that we have certainly improved in this new version of DASA Fundamentals. So Niels, Now, there's also some new and exciting things happening. Can you explain to our audience what those are?
Yeah, so there's a number of things, and a couple of things already been mentioned, but let's just look at them briefly. Obviously, DevOps at scale. We see that in the market there is a lot of attention to concepts such as less, such as safe, and they're all about making sure that DevOps teams can work together well and create the value in larger organizations. And what we found was that area was very underrepresented in the initial fundamentals. And what we've tried to do is really have a continuum of saying, okay, we've got individuals who work in teams, who work in organizations, or that work in organizations, and this flow of how do these different levels work together. We've tried to give a really good overview of how that would work. So we look into scaling, we look into where you do want to look at use scaling, and areas where you try to be careful about how much extra overhead you put onto DevOps teams. So that's one of the cool areas that I think we've added. As was said just a minute ago, operations is a really important one. And the interesting thing about operations is that we actually try to automate as much as possible of our operations, but that doesn't mean that that's always possible. When you're looking from a legacy environment to moving towards a DevOps way of working, we see that it is possible to use DevOps concepts, and that you will, from an operations perspective, you need to look at how you're going to manage your legacy environment. And these here there are ideas and concepts that that you need to be aware of, rather than just saying, okay, well, look, operations is an area that we're going to automate anyway, so we don't need to spend too much time on that. We do, because our production environments are where the value is for our customers. So we try and spend a little bit more time looking at how the operations is done in a DevOps environment.
Okay.
And as last but not least, it's as I think I mentioned earlier, that how to get started, that feeling of coming out of this course with a clear set of steps that you want to take as an individual and as a team is very important. And because we've built this up in a journey way, it becomes a story that people can integrate into their own thinking a lot more easily, so they can convince their colleagues, their managers, or people around them much more easily of why we need to take the step towards DevOps.
You know, what I love about the things that we've really thought about in this new version of DASA DevOps Fundamentals is that we're really upping. Number one, we're responding to what our members really felt they wanted, was a 2-day course. The other important thing is that we are looking at improving and innovating things that we've already done, putting things in the right areas where they should be, so we actually create a path for the people that are taking the certification, but also thinking more and more about things like DevOps at scale and how that works and the benefits it can bring, and considering modern operations and just leading the way to how to get started. So I really think that the things that we have invested in are really going to pay our members and those taking the training great results. We've also put together some resources and made them available for you. So we have the new syllabus that's available. We have a very detailed DASA DevOps Fundamentals FAQ for you. But I think the most important thing for you to take a look at is our change log, which goes in and actually shows you the difference between what was available in the current 3-day fundamentals course and what's changed or been enhanced in the new 2.0 course of DASA DevOps Fundamentals. So please take an opportunity to take a look at that. We welcome feedback from you. And the thing that I'd like to get to, because I see already that there's a line of questions that are popping up as we're talking, is some questions that I'd like to ask about a better understanding of the impact. So one of the questions, and Arian, I'm going to direct this to you,
Sure.
is the certification exam that's associated with DASA DevOps Fundamentals 2.0 different from the previous version in 1.0.4?
Yes, it's a different exam. So it's a different exam because the scope of the content has changed, and hence also those who are participating in a new version 2 course have to make sure that they're not taking a previous version exam. So we're going to make that very clear also in the exam scheduling process, so that when you're scheduling the exam, or when you are as a training provider looking to purchase exam vouchers from DASA for scheduling the exam, you have to make sure to look out for which of the version of the exams that you're ordering or looking at your learners to take. Everything else stays the same though. So the rules stay the same, the exam providers stay the same. So it's still a 60-minute exam, like I mentioned before, 26 correct in order to pass the exam. And if you are a non-native speaker, you still receive also an additional 15 minutes for the exam.
Okay, great. And what about the syllabus? How long will the version 1.0.4 syllabus be available in the market?
We're following industry standards here. So we've defined a specific sunset period for the current version of the exam, so
Okay.
the 1.0.4 version. We realize that the market needs some time to also make changes to the new program. I mean, some of the training providers have scheduled courses for the next 6 to 9 months, and they cannot all of a sudden make a change to the calendar and say, hey, here's a 2-day course instead of a 3-day course, because they reserved rooms, they booked trainers, etc. So for a period of a number of months up until June 2020, both programs will remain available in the market. And after June 2020, the current version 1.0.4 will be removed from the market.
Okay.
So this gives sufficient time for everybody to really get adjusted to the training program, and it provides some choice also to those who want to still continue to deliver the existing version for a period of time.
Okay, that's great news. I also have a question here about will the DASA DevOps Fundamentals Certified Professionals, will they have to get recertified?
No, they do not need to get recertified. So in general, the scope is similar to the previous version of the program. So it's not that all of a sudden we're covering completely new topics or completely new areas. So it's not required to take the exam again. The new exam, or people who've taken the previous version of the exam, will still be eligible to continue and participate in the professional level programs. Also, I mean, DASA does not work with the concept of renewals. So once you've taken the exam, basically it's a certification for life.
But what is that also for the trainers? Do the trainers need to be get the certification exam again?
No, the same thing also applies for the trainers. So trainers who are certified need to continue to just also be certified. So nothing changes. They do not need to take the new version. But what we do require trainers to do is to participate in a trainer-trainer session by the courseware partners that they work with, so that they also have a good understanding of how to deliver the new training program. Because I mean, it's a different program, it has a different flow, and hence also there is a need for trainers to pay attention, or to basically build an understanding of how to deliver the new training program. So participating in the TTT is mandatory, But obviously, I mean, as DASA, as a certification body, we do not have a accreditation policy. We're not going to check it, but we expect that everybody will live up to that expectation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's great. I think for all of those of you out there that are interested in this, you should contact your courseware partners and get signed up for their TTTs so that you're in a position to go to market quickly with this. Also, if you have questions and you need more information, please feel free to go to the DASA website at DevOpsAgileSkills.org, and under our resource section, you will find lots of information that we'll have available for you about our new DASA DevOps Fundamentals 2.0. If you have specific questions, just drop us an email at our info@DevOpsAgileSkills.org, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible so that we can answer any questions that you have. But on our website, you're going to be able to find the collaterals that I mentioned to you earlier, the newest syllabus, and as well as the FAQ and other supporting documents. So don't hesitate to go there. I just want to take a moment to thank my dream team, Ariane and Niels. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me today with this great news around the new DASA DevOps Fundamentals course.
Thanks, Deborah. It was a pleasure to be here today, and I really hope that this was exciting and innovative learning for everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Deborah. Yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm really hoping that that people enjoy the new course that we put together.
Yeah, I'm sure there will. And again, thanks again to you both, and to our the folks that joined us today. Thank you for your great questions, and thank you for joining us. And yeah, we look forward to going to market strong with you with our new DASA DevOps Fundamentals 2.0. Goodbye, everybody.